What's up guys, GagexScapegoat here. So this video is also going up on Slim's channel, so thank you very much for the upload, Slim. I'm going to be showing you guys my Timelord deck today. He's been wanting me to show this since I started talking about it and since I did my Scapegoat Psychology video. But yeah, so I think this deck is a pretty solid rogue option right now. I feel that because its best matchup is True Draco, because they're tribute summoning, obviously everybody knows they gain advantage off of popping their cards by your cards by getting their cards into play, and with the fact that Time Lords can be destroyed by battle of card effects. With some of the other techs I threw in here, Masterpiece isn't really an issue. With Zodiac especially though, with Zodiac, they go with Trident and they go with they have strikes and stuff like that. Strike stops the effects of the Time Lords but doesn't destroy them, so they still have to find a way around it. And Trident, obviously they can't pop your Time Lords because they can be destroyed by battle of card effects. So a lot of their main plays, a lot of their main win conditions, and a lot of their main strategies are kind of rendered moot just by putting a normal summon into play. So I actually think the Time Lords are pretty strong right now. So anyways, we're going to get into it. Hope you enjoy it. So you got triple meta Ion. Some people like two. I understand. The thing is that Firewall Dragon's a card. Having multiple links in play does happen, or having an Exceed and another monster blank Trident, and you just summon a meta Ion, clear it away, burn him for 900, burn him for 1200, and also being able to pop, or excuse me, bounce your Kaiju back to your hand is also very good because it gives you a reusable out to cards like Masterpiece, let's say. So triple meta Ion, like I said, if you want to play two, I get it. I like three though. Triple Zaphion. Zaphion's just unfair. This card is ridiculous. The only card that really answers it is Strike, and with Strike, again, it negates the effect, but it doesn't destroy the card. So I mean, you're paying 1500 versus essentially a burn deck. So you're paying 1500 just so you don't die, and it's versus a burn deck. So I mean, Zaphion, very, very good card. I mean, if they Kaiju over it, it's funny because you still draw a card, because it would send from the field to the graveyard. I believe it says a field to graveyard. Send from the field to the graveyard by any means, you draw a card. So I mean, this card with a draw is really good. It's just a great card. I like it. It's probably my favorite one. Triple Camion. Another card that I think that people kind of overlook. The thing is, this card is strike proof, and that's fantastic. The fact that this deck doesn't really struggle against strike, like I said, because it negates the effect, it doesn't destroy the card. So it essentially serves the same purpose as Forbidden Chalice or something like that. But with Camion specifically though, it's strike proof because they can't chain cards to this. Neither player can chain cards to this. So it's a very solid answer again to other random cards you may run into, or if your opponent has that field spell in play you need to get rid of. They take 500 and you shuffle it back. It's a good card. And triple Lazion. With Lazion, it is another it's kind of my main win con with burn, because if your opponent's getting low on life points, I'll always try and throw a Lazion into play. And if it's late game, by that point I've probably already shuffled the graveyard back once or twice. They probably don't have a lot of resources to choose from. They have their hand, and I mean, if they have their field, I can meta Ion it away, I can Camion it away, I can Zaphion it away, depending on what they have or whatever I have to deal with. So the Lazions are, in my opinion, pretty strong, just because, again, if you're running into that random Grass is Greener deck or whatever, if you're playing against Paleo and you just shuffle other traps back, it's pretty tough for them to mount some sort of comeback. So triple Time Maiden, my apologies, they haven't come in the mail yet. But yeah, triple Time Maiden card is very, very unfair. It's a very good card. One of the best support cards they could have given the archetype. So Mathematician and Maxx C, these are my other two, I guess, tech choices, if you want to call them that. I mean, Maxx C, we all know about Maxx C. People are like, oh, it's not good against True Draco, you should put it in the side deck. But this deck has such a good True Draco matchup, it doesn't really matter. Plus, it works very well against the Dinos if they're trying to go off and try to make they're trying to make, Lagia, and they're trying to throw their 3600 dude into play and all that other random stuff. It's always nice to be able to just draw free cards, especially if they take the challenge. And especially in a format kind of like this, where it's very, for lack of a better word, it's very combo piece oriented, I find. You can't do an extreme amount unless you're playing Well, even with Zodiac, they can turn one card into 2 or 3. But that Trident is very easy to play around, so they need cards like Strike to back it up, or cards like, Dimension Barrier to back it up. So when it comes to having just 1-2 cards or whatever, being able to have a Maxx C to kind of get you into more of your pieces is always very good. Mathematician, you send Time Maiden, very good. I've literally poked people for turn after turn with Mathematician, because they know if I put something into play, it's probably just going to bounce a whole bunch of their shit back. So then the last of the monsters is triple Gamasiel and triple Jizukiro. So I play these guys specifically just because they're the weakest. It's the weakest and strongest Kaiju monster. And I play I specifically play a Jizukiro over Thunder King just in case I'm playing against a Kaiju deck. It's much better to have an answer during your opponent's turn than a Cold Wave on your turn, when the Cold Wave doesn't really make too much of a difference. So, and also because, you know, it's level 10, so you can exceed. I do play a couple exceeds. I go into my extra deck maybe like one out of every like 5-6 games, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to have, you know. And then Gamasiel, like I said, it's the weakest one, so if you Kaiju Slumber over their field. But I mean, plus this is 6 answers to random stuff. Like if you're, like I see that the like Super Quantums have a new way to make Magnus turn 1 with links. So I mean, if they drop a Magnus on you, that's pretty difficult. So it's nice to have 6 answers to it. You know, it's also Masterpiece. I mean, like I said, Masterpiece doesn't really hurt the deck a whole lot. So I mean, take Masterpiece for what it's worth, but it's nice to have answers to it. You know, especially like any kind of floater effects, or like if this card's destroyed by battle of card effects, you just get rid of it. So yep. So then double out of the spells, obviously. So then double Slumber. Again, card's very unfair, but it's not as good as it could be just because of Ash being everywhere. But it's still a good card because, I mean, even if they do Ash this, it's a 1-for-1 that essentially turns into a +1 because next turn you're going to banish and add a Kaiju from your deck to your hand. So it turns, you know, it's a Dark Hole that turns into a Rhoda next turn. Everybody knows what it does. So AAA draw. Advanced draw is really good, especially with Zaphion, because you can go Zaphion, attack, shuffle other spells and traps back, which, I mean, I've hit people for 5 before. So, I mean, like, you know, your best case scenario, the absolute best case scenario is going to shuffle back 5, which, like I said, isn't going to happen a lot, but it's your best case scenario. And then you go A draw and give yourself a nice +1 on top of that. But, yeah, I mean, usually you'll shuffle back 2, you'll shuffle back 3 sometimes, and if they strike it, you know, again, it doesn't matter because they're paying 1,500 versus a burn deck just to not, you know, get blown out. So A draw, really good. Gets you into more pieces, gets you into your Kaiju monsters, all that stuff. So double Chalice, and I'll just skip to the traps and a Breakthrough. There should be 3 Chalices, but I mean, they do the same purpose. Doesn't really matter. So 3 Chalice. I like Chalice, just, you know, get rid of, you know, or avoid Firewall Dragon if you don't have a Kaiju in your hand, you know, stuff like that. So then Foolish Barrel and 1 Desires. Maybe it's just me, you guys. I don't like playing more than 1 Desires. If you want to play more than 1 Desires, I totally get it. Most people do. That's just my preference. I'm not a fan of playing more than 1 because if I draw the second one, it means I have to banish another 10 cards off my deck. You know what I mean? So you're already halfway into your deck if you do that. Like, you're over halfway into your deck, even if you do it turn 1 and then turn 2 for you. So I mean, you know, and plus it banishes your mains, it banishes your Time Lords, you know, it banishes your Slumbers. There's a lot of cards in the deck that you don't really want to lose. So I like having 1, but I never want to see the second. So I just like it. I just played at 1. So then traps, there should be 2 Oasis. It's the same thing, guys. The only difference is that I prefer Oasis because then you can bring Time Maiden back and you can bring her in defense position in case your opponent's trying to push. So yeah. So then triple Scolding. Yes, 3 Scolding. 3 copies of Scolding and a Solemn Warning. I know people like, oh, why wouldn't you? Most people just play the 2 Scolding in the Warning. The thing is, I like seeing it. You know, and if on that off chance you draw, you know, 2 Scolding, like it's not the end of the world. You send 1, or you set 1, you play it, and then you set another one, obviously. That's 6,000 points, but the thing is that you're not taking a lot of damage. I know people are like, oh, what about Sadion? Because you're taking all this damage. The thing is that, again, with the fact that these can't be destroyed by battle of card effects, and then plus you do have cards like Call the Haunteds, you know, and the Torrential, and, you know, Scoldings, Warning, like you have your random answers to miscellaneous shit that's going to give you a problem, Chalices, all that stuff. So, I mean, I found that I don't need cards like, let's say, Blazing Mirror Force. Yes, it does speed the game up a little bit, but it's kind of a win more in my opinion. Plus, I mean, a lot of times they'll be able to pop it before they try to go off. So I'm not really a fan. Scolding, you know, gets rid of, you know, if you need to protect like a Call the Haunted or something, you can Scolding on a like if you play Call the Haunted and target something and they chain, like let's say Cosmic Cyclone or something like that, it's good to have an answer like Scolding. It reminds me of a Bribe, obviously, but it obviously gets rid of monster effects too. And I like Scolding more than Strike personally. It's just kind of my preference, just because it gets rid of spells and traps too. And then you got the 1 Torrential I mentioned. Torrential, it's not bad. It's not the best card in the world. I probably can't cut it because it's just so good. You know what I mean? Like, you Trenchel and, you know, your opponent loses all their shit. You don't lose any of your shit. But, like, I wouldn't, like, call someone crazy if I saw this. If I saw, like, a deck profile and someone wasn't playing Trenchel. And just, you know, it's not bad. It's not amazing, though. But, like I said, it does have its moments. So, go on to the side deck. This is just version 1.0. I've been focusing more on the main deck so far, you guys. But the side deck obviously does come in handy. But I find that with most cases, you're not siding a whole lot because, I mean, what are they siding against you? Skill drain? I mean, like, you have skill drain, that's an issue. You have, like, a matchup like Paleo, which is kind of a tough matchup, so that's another issue. But for the most part, they're not siding, like, and the Band Played On doesn't do anything to you. You know, Summon Limit doesn't do anything to you. Like, these random Floodgates don't really do anything versus you, so we got Curses. I like Curse. That's just my preference. Y'all don't want to play it. I get it. But I like Curse a lot. You know, it's, you know, being able to curse your opponent and have them start, you know, minusing just for, you know, advancing the game state, you know, and then one of those turns you just don't feel like paying it, you can send it to the grave at your end phase. But I mean, you're gonna lower them down, lower them down, lower them down. I believe it says, yeah, so you obviously pay 500, but like they banish a card from their hand, which is a big thing. It doesn't give them more resources in the graveyard, and the resources they do get in the graveyard, you can Lassie on them back. You know, it kind of narrows down their plays, and then you can just kind of finish them off with a card like Zaphion. So, triple Curse. Triple Eclipse, which, I mean, I'm kind of back and forth on this card. Sometimes I play it, sometimes I find myself taking it out and putting it in. But the thing about this is it's good against Paleo. Not against all types of Paleo. I don't put it in against all types of Paleo. I play it against when they're playing like the graveyard version, you know, where they have grass and they have the frogs and they have like all those extra trap cards and they have other, you know, variations, you know, like the different engines. I like putting Eclipse in against those matchups. So then triple MST goes in against Paleo. It's very good. I like MST against Paleo, and I also like Lance against Paleo. The thing about Paleo is it's probably your toughest matchup because they don't play, like, your Kaiju are usually dead unless you want to Kaiju over the Trioto. That's literally the only card I would Kaiju over because other stuff you can really just deal with. But so what's good about these, though, is that you play them in response to your opponent chaining a trap card. So, I mean, they go 1, like they said, okay, so they go Chain Link 1, activate a trap card. You go Chain Link 2, Chain MST, target another back row. So then they're going to have to chain that other back row if they can even activate it. If it's a strike or something, they're boned. So they're going to go, that's the second one, and then they're going to pull the card out of the graveyard. So they're literally going 3 cards just for your 1 card. So, I mean, the thing about Paleo is that they have those issues where they kind of just run out of resources eventually. You know, the Frog Engine is pretty durable, but outside of that, they have some issues. And again, with the Frog Engine in particular, you Lassie on them all back from the graveyard into the deck. You know, it means they can't Ronin Totem repeatedly. It's pretty good. And Lance, I mean, Lance goes in against, you know, like the rogue stuff you play against, like Yosenju. I would put it against Yosenju probably, just because of the fact that they play Blazings, they play Stormings, they play all that shit. It's just good to have an answer to it. But Yosenju's another tough matchup. But I mean, I don't know if I put it against like I don't know. I don't know what else I put it against. Just Yosenju came to mind. Another random stun decks came to mind. Just anything that plays Mirror Forces, I'm basically gonna put those in. But MSCs are mainly for Paleo, and I guess if I run into Skill Drain. So then 2 Dark Hole. I don't play Regeki because sometimes you want to get rid of your Kaiju that you have on your side. You know, I mean, as good as having a Jizukiro in play is, sometimes you want to get rid of it so that way you can start putting your Time Lords into play. Because unless you have Maiden in the graveyard, unless you have Maiden in the graveyard, if you have a Kaiju on field, you're not gonna be able to summon your Time Lords. So sometimes it's good to just clear your monsters out. And then Decree. Just one Decree. I don't really like seeing multiples. You know, I do have MSTs, I do have Lances if I choose to side them in. You know, and I do have Zaphion. So just having like kind of a 1 card, like if I attack, and like I think they have Strike or something like that, like I'll attack, the attack will go through, and then like I'll flip Decree, and then end the battle phase. So something random like that. The situations don't come up super often, but you know, they do. And a couple cards I play in the extra deck. You can really play just whatever you want. It's not really a relevant thing. Like I said, I go into the extra deck probably once every like 6 games or so. So I mean, first of all, you got the Tarantula. He's pretty good. You know, if you because you're gonna be burning them, you don't take a lot of damage. Or on the off chance, so like you don't draw a Time Lord, you set your Scolding or something like that, or set your Torrential. They push, they hit you for some damage. It's good to have this to kind of, I guess, push forward and damage them as well. One of him, the Rail Cannon. Which Rail Cannon is this again? The Door Rail Cannon. He's really good. He's just another case where, like, if you have your, you know, he's 4,000 defense. You know, off the top of my head, that's really, you know, that at face value is really good, but it also makes it so that, like, if you want to have this dude in place, you can start pushing or start hitting with him turn after turn. It's also not that bad because, again, he, you know, makes it unaffected by other card effects other than himself, so that's good. And then Ab-Zero, because you need him. Gustav Max, you know, you should play him. You should probably play 2 of each of these guys, but you're not really, you barely go into 1, let alone 2. But, yeah, so that's about it, you guys. Really hope you enjoyed it, so... Time Lords. I'm actually pretty impressed with how the deck plays. I think it has some good rogue matchups and some bad rogue matchups, but I think it's a decent medical right now, just because, I mean, a lot of it is damage-oriented, or it's a lot of destruction-oriented to a good extent. You know what I mean? Like the spells and traps that the Draco players will tribute, you know, they're going to pop a backer and then pop a monster. And, like, if you can make as many of your opponent's cards dead as possible, that's really good. And I know some people are like, well, you talked about Clashing Souls in your psychology video. Why aren't you playing Clashing Souls? So I had it at 3 for a while, and I just found I didn't like it. At 3, I was drawing it way too much. So I went down to 2, but then I also found that it was a little bit too, like, I wasn't reacting enough, and then sometimes my opponent would kaiju over my Time Lord and then just put a bunch of damage on board, so that's where Trenchel came in. And I was like, okay, well, I still need to be able to plus every now and again, you know, if the situation comes up. So, like, I put the Desires in here, and then also the other reason why I took Clashing Souls out, for as much as I like the card personally, I found that, like, Zaphion gets rid of all the spells and traps, and Meta Ion gets rid of all the monsters. You know what I mean? Lazion gets rid of the entire graveyard, and Camion gets rid of select few threats. So, I mean, I found that for as much fun as it personally is, it's kind of like playing like a Meteor Dragon or something random in a Heretic deck. You know, it's a really fun to, you know, shout out to Paul Cooper. It's a lot of fun to play, but I found that it wasn't quite as game impact as I initially thought it was. Still a good card if you want to play it, absolutely, but that's my thoughts on it, so that's about it. Again, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.